Good evening, folks. Coming to you with my next tips from the truck, and with the last little bit of daylight I got here, I thought I would hop on and do a little talk on helping you guys diet that you go on. And I use the word diet loosely. I don't really love the word diet. Actually, have you reframe the word and call it a nourishment plan, because really, what's the point of food? It's nourishment, right? But I do want to talk to you about how to make sure that the next diet you go on or nourishment plan you go on is as effective as possible. And if you don't do this following tip, it basically will be a little bit useless for you. And I want to help you avoid that. So, two main points that I want to make today. One is, every time you go on a diet, let me just start by saying I hate when I hear people say, well, I went on X diet and it didn't work for me. Every diet works, or it wouldn't have any followers. There are definitely better ones than worse ones. I definitely advocate for certain ways of eating and don't think all the ones are very effective. But it's not necessarily, was it a good one, was it a bad one? That's the only important piece. The important piece is the two factors I'm going to talk about today. So do these two things, and the next diet, nourishment plan, whatever you want to call it, you go on, will absolutely be a success. So, it's so funny. Number one is, every time you go on a diet, do something further, more than you did before. So I see this with people who follow my plan, and if you have a specific one that you tend to go on, let's say Whole30 or Paleo, or what I teach, what I call the 4 rules of nutrition, is basically the diet plan I teach clients. Every time you go on a new diet, you want to add a level of newness to that diet, okay? So let's say the last time you went on one, the primary piece you did was you went totally whole hog off sugar. Great. Well, the brain, our little human brains, we love new things, okay? We have trouble when what we go to change feels and looks too much like what we've changed before. And so what I see with people who just try to do the exact same thing that they did the prior time is they are not inspired. There isn't a feeling of newness to it, and so they don't fully apply themselves to it. So if this resonates with you, go ahead and hit the like button. If you have found yourself trying a diet and the second and third and fourth time you've tried it, you've been like, I don't get it, oh my God, it didn't work. Well, that's where I would challenge you to say, how could you take it further? So if last time you went on a diet, you completely went off of sugar, well, this time maybe you completely go off sugar and you only have one cheat meal a week. Or this time you completely go off sugar and you work out 6 days a week, or this, something, right? Add something new every time you go on it. And this is particularly for those of you who have gone on one type of diet multiple times and are starting to see less and less effects from it. I see this with clients all the time. I actually see this with myself all the time. Even I go through waves of re-upping my nutrition, getting really dialed in, and then sliding backwards, and I have to sort of do what I call a radical reframe on my nutrition. And if I don't do something new every time, I find myself checking out faster, because there's that brain, yeah, I got this. And then a week into it, it's like, whoops, not following that plan, right? So this is my challenge to you the next time you go on, how can you take it further? How can you take what you've done and add 1 or 2 or 3 little aspects to it? Not necessarily all incredibly hard aspects, but like one big change that you can add to it that'll make it more effective. I think you will love this when you make that diet plan new to you, even if you've done it before. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is going to come to me in a second. Yes, there it is. Okay. Tip number 2 is to ask yourself the right question and be willing to make subtle tweaks. So basically, anybody who teaches a diet or a nourishment plan like what I teach what I call the 4 rules of nutrition. I talk about it in my book, which is called Exposed: The Weight Loss Industry Wants You to Be Fat. You can find it on Amazon on a Kindle and a paperback version. But basically, they are eating principles. They work really, really well. They work for everybody, but they are principles. I can never come up with an exact fit for you, for Sally, for Joe, for Jack, for me, for my wife, for my, right? Every single person has to make subtle tweaks to it. So when you go on a diet, it's very, very important that you make, excuse me, first of all, very specific changes. You tell yourself exactly what you're doing. You know, I'm having one cheat meal. I'm not drinking alcohol or having sugar during the week, and the cheat meal is on Saturday nights, okay? Clear, very precise, very specific. I'm just giving you an example. Now what you want to do is observe what worked about this, what didn't work about this, and become a student of your nutrition. See, what you're going to do if you learn to be a better student of your dieting is that you are going to craft your diet, your very specific version of this. Everybody can take Whole30, paleo, veganism. There's so many different diets out there. Everybody can take different diets and tweak them and find your path, your way, your right combination with this. For an example, I have dabbled in the last 6 months with intermittent fasting. Any of you out there, have you tried any of the intermittent fasting plans? There's a lot of them out there. They're very, very popular. They're very, very new. But the cool thing is they're very, very old. It's actually a very traditional way of eating. So the one I really tend to like the best is delaying my eating until noon and then compressing all of my meals between noon and 6. Well, I started on the plan in a flat belly challenge that I just had with clients. And my plan was to basically do intermittent fasting, where it's sort of called like what they call the warrior diet. So I ate all of my calories between 12 and 6 o'clock in the day. In the morning, I would wake up. I would make a big old cup of mate, which is sort of like a green tea. It's a great South American green tea. I tend to like it more than green because it's not so bitter. Little burnt, and I don't do coffee, so it's a nice one. Little tangential, but I would drink that tea, and I usually get about 1 or 2 waves of hunger, and I drink that tea, and I drink water, and I take any supplements that I take, and I go about my day. And when I got hungry, when noon would come, I would start eating. I would have my smoothie, and then a few hours later, I'd have a lunch. And this allowed me to sort of cut down on any snacking. By delaying breakfast, I was able to really strictly cut down to just 3 meals. But what I started to find 2 weeks in, after I had great success, my belly flattened, I lost about 5 pounds of winter weight, which I always bulk up. You probably do too. And I started to find, well, I'm getting stupid and bullheaded, and I'm not feeling very good, and I was getting hangry. So I had to tweak this to work for me. And what I've found is do the exact same plan, but somewhere between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock, I will get to the point where I'm legitimately hungry. It's time to stop screwing around, and I have my smoothie. Okay? And when I say smoothie, I'm not talking about a packet of protein or Shakeology or something. I'm talking about like protein powder, cashew milk, peanut butter, seeds, all sorts of stuff. It's like a loaded meal. I drink an entire ball jar of this stuff. So that's like a big old cup is basically what that is. All right. So I tweaked. I asked myself what works about this, what doesn't. That's what you want to do for yourself to have success. You're going to fail in your next diet if you don't become a better student, a better observer of how the exact plan works for you. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Even a crappy diet has some points that are really good about it. And that's why it's taken off. That's why at least enough people to create the system and start pitching it. It's out there, right? I mean, how did South Beach become a thing? Well, it worked for a lot of people, whether it worked long haul or not. You want to become a student of your diet. You want to ask yourself what's working about this, what's not, and what subtle tweaks could you make that will help you be more effective with this in the future. What you're going to find when you do this right is you're going to have far better success. You're going to be able to tweak and create a plan that works really, really well for you. So I hope this was a helpful tip for you. This is my tips from the truck for the week. My favorite little series to do, because I get to sit down here and do a little Facebook Live time with folks. I get a lot of interaction from this, so I love it. Sorry to not do this under a lot of daylight. It's getting dark out here. And it is a sweltering day here in Maryland. I don't know about y'all, but it's like 90 again for the 5th, 6th day in a row, and it's I'm gonna go jump back in the pool. But It was great talking with all of you guys. If you enjoy this, please give it a thumbs up or a like. And if you have any questions, or if you want to talk about what success or what tweaks you've made to a diet and how that was effective, I'd love to hear that. And as always, hey, if you want to hop on my private group, it's called Breakthrough 39. I do a little more of my fitness tips on there. I have some specific fitness workouts, some more Facebook Lives than happen on this page. It's a great page for people who are just fitness enthusiasts. There's no price. It's a free group for people who are totally into all things kettlebells and nutrition. It's called Breakthrough 39 without a space. And if you hop on over and request in, I'll gladly invite you into the group. Thanks so much, and I will catch you next time.